let's go. We're on?
Yeah.
Very good, thank you. So, I dragged you once again through the entire development of the idea of understanding or studying the behavior of the firm. And ultimately we derived this graph, which is our basic tool to study the behavior of the firm. And as a part of it, in that graph, we can find the quantity the firm chooses to produce, and we can find the profit the firm is generating. Why are these things important? For several reasons. First of all, that profit itself is going to be of utmost importance. Why? Because it is not just ordinary profit, it is the economic profit. All right, what is economic profit? Let me tell you a story. You had a bunch of friends in high school. One day you bump into your high school buddy who tells you, gee, how's the old gang? Oh, everyone's fine. Seems like everybody's doing just peachy. But you know what? Did you hear that Joe actually didn't go to college? Really, Joe? I mean, Joe was so ambitious, such a smart, quick kid. No, Joe started his own company. Really? Yeah, I mean, he just didn't want to waste time going to school, so he started his own company. Is he doing okay? But you know what? I know his accountant says that it looks like after 1 year in business, Joe is gonna net a profit of $200,000. First year in business. Whoa! Awesome! Success story. Gotta love that. A year later, you bump into your old friend again. Hey, how's everybody? Everybody's fine. How's Joey? Oh, Joey, well, weirdest thing. I just bumped into his accountant a couple weeks ago, and his accountant says that Joey's leaving the business. He's gonna shut down his firm, go out of business. Why would he do that? Is he going bankrupt? Was that first year just a fluke? No, that's the weirdest thing. His accountant told me he was on track to earn another 200 grand in profit the second year in business. So why is he leaving the business? What's wrong? Can't he pay? No, he can pay all the bills. After he pays all the bills, his profit is 200 grand. This doesn't make any sense. Joey must have gone mad, right? Why would anyone in their right mind abandon a 200 grand a year profit business? Stress? Poor Joey.
Opportunity cost.
What do you mean? You're using foreign words. Of course you're right. But
You can take your money and put it in an alternative investment.
let's say he didn't put any money in. He is, whatever, high-level consultant that gets paid a lot of money, okay? That's his firm, that's his activity. Why would he abandon that activity? Okay, because part of the story was not disclosed to you. Part of the story was not known to your old friend, and part of the story is not known to the accountant. The part of the story is that right after graduating from high school, Joey got an offer from Google to go work for them for $500,000 a year, because Joey is a genius. But Joey had ambitions much greater than that, and Joey thought to himself, nah, I'd rather try it on my own. And so Joey tried. And Joey was okay. He made 200 grand the first year. He was going to make 200 grand the second year. Well, how do you think Joey felt about 200 grand a year?
It's not 500.
It's not 500 a year, right? Doesn't make sense? In other words, in order to earn 200 grand running his own firm, he left $500,000 offer on the table. So when Joey made his first $200,000, how did he feel? Did he feel like, yeah, I made a killing?
No.
No, he felt like, oh my God, I just lost how much? $300,000, right?
Well, technically more than that, because if he would stick to it 2 years, he would have been a millionaire.
In other words, per year, right? Let's just keep it per year. In other words, first year, yes, your accountant tells you you are making profit of $200,000, but Joey's not happy because he knows he's losing $300,000. He could have been making $500,000, instead makes $200,000. Well, if the second year doesn't look any better, right? Again, just $200,000. Oh my gosh, what do you think Joey did? Called Google and hey, is the offer still on the table? Oh sure, come, right? So does Joey's decision to abandon his $200,000 a year business make sense? Does or does it not? Absolutely. Except stuff like that never happens, right?
And you gotta work more.
Huh?
So then you gotta work more.
I'm
And
sure.
Google's
Well,
gonna pay
you know,
you
if you
$500,000.
want to do something right, you always have to work a lot. There's no getting around it. But do things like that happen?
Yeah.
Look, people keep doing things or making decisions that seemingly don't make sense. But when you actually learn the context, they suddenly start making sense. Like imagine a kid named Billy. Last year of college study at an Ivy League institution. Excellent student, brilliant kid. Last semester, few months till graduation. Ivy League diploma. The kid quits college. Can you imagine those parents? Why would a kid do it? Did parents run out of money? They can't support? No. It's a well-off family. They can keep supporting Billy in his endeavors until he finishes the college. Why did he do it? Fall in love? Weirder things have happened, right? No. Billy's decision was actually perfectly rational. Because Billy is Billy Gates. You know that Bill Gates never finished college. He quit in last year. And he attended what? MIT, Harvard, or whatever, one of these high-power schools, right? Why did he do it? Did he go completely mad? No. He was too busy starting Microsoft. Look, he could have finished his college, gone on to a lucrative career to make, making $500,000 a year. But he had a better opportunity waiting somewhere, right? So he quit that so he could take advantage of a better opportunity. That make sense?
Yes.
Very good. So let's go back to Joey. Joey runs a business where his accountant tells him, your profit is $200,000. But he left $500,000 offer. And so in fact we know he's not earning $200,000 that his accountant tells him. He is losing $300,000, which is what we mean by economic profit. Okay? Economic profit. In other words, that economic profit accounts not only for your accounting costs, right? Explicit costs that your accountant takes into account, but it also accounts for the opportunity cost. In other words, the cost of doing what you're doing in terms of all the opportunities you gave up to do what you're doing. In other words, if you start a business and you turn down $500,000 offer, that's $500,000 you just turned down is the cost you're paying to run your business. Does that make sense? Does it mean it shows up on your books? Does that something your accountant takes? See, your accountant doesn't put that in the books. Your accountant tells you, congratulations, wonderful year, $200,000, you go. But Joey knows, oh, if only you knew. These $200,000 cost me giving up $500,000 offer, right? So I'm actually losing $300,000. That's the economic profit. That makes sense? All right. In other words, what is economic profit? Economic profit is the profit you are generating after you account for all the best alternatives you had to give up. You had to leave in order to do what you're doing. Okay, how is that going to help us with anything? Let me now erase this picture that we're no longer going to be using. And let's consider 3 possible scenarios. Let's say your economic profit is positive. Let's say your economic profit is negative. Let's say your economic profit is 0. First of all, Joey's story. Joey is running a business making $200,000 in accounting profit. What is Joey's economic profit? Negative 300 grand. So it's this, right? Negative 300 grand. That means Joey may be making big bucks, $200,000 a year, but there is a better opportunity somewhere else. So what will Joey do? Joey will quit this business, right? Joey may be making 200 grand in accounting profit, but we know Joey will leave, correct? Because there's a better opportunity. In other words, negative economic profit means that the firm has a better opportunity somewhere else, and therefore the firm will, over time, leave this activity. Joey will quit this business and go to Google. That makes sense? In other words, knowing that Joey is earning negative economic profit helps us understand what will Joey do in the future. Say it again. So let's say Joey goes to Google, okay, and makes $500,000 there annually. What is Joey's economic profit at that point?
Equal to 0? 300,000 or would be 5?
You said 300,000. How did you get that?
Because he was making 200,000.
Because he's making $500,000 and he gave up a $200,000 business. So he's making 300 grand more than his best alternative opportunity, right? He's making more than at the best alternative opportunity. Well, what can that tell us about the future behavior? Does it tell us that Joey will leave Google? No. It tells us 2 things. First of all, Joey will definitely not leave Google because that's where he's making more than anywhere else, right? In other words, when economic profit is positive, it tells you that a firm is doing better than anywhere else, than it could be doing anywhere else, in any other industry. Not only that, it also tells you that working for Google is a fantastic opportunity, right? Where people can make more than anywhere else. Well, what can that tell you about the behavior of people into the future? Are there a lot of kids going to seek employment with Google? Yes or no? Absolutely. In other words, positive economic profit means that over time, that economic activity will attract more entrants. Does it make sense? Very good. Let's summarize. Negative economic profit, meaning you could make more money somewhere else, you will exit the industry. Positive economic profit, you're making more than anywhere else. That means it will attract entry of new firms. That makes sense? Very good. Zero economic profit. You're making just as much as anywhere else, right? One day you will finish your college degree. You will get a job for one of the companies, starting salary $49,000. You think, well, okay, that's an okay place to start. You could have accepted a job with another bank for $49,500, something like that. In other words, you're basically earning or generating revenue. You could have generating profit. You could have generated anywhere else, okay? It is the same profit you could earn anywhere else or somewhere else. That makes sense? All right, so now we understand. We're starting to build intuitive feel for what economic profit is. Now, 2 things. Why is this important? And second, how can you see this without even knowing what economic profit is? I told you what economic profit is. But people actually see these things even without taking a class like this. Let me tell you another story. In 1990s, I spent a decade at University of Virginia in Charlottesville, small university at that time, relatively small university town. It's growing rapidly. As all other students, especially grad students, and most seniors in town, we all were shopping for produce at one place on the outskirts of town. And it was a funny place out of corrugated metal pieces. It just looked like a hangar. It wasn't particularly pretty. It was called Kathy's Produce. It was not affiliated with any major chain or anything. It was just a family-run business. It was run by a gentleman whose wife is Kathy. They were running this business together. Why did we all, seniors and students, shop there? Ultra low prices. He basically found contacts to these chains and major distributors, and he was always buying the discounted leftover produce from these. In other words, when you had a batch of several boxes of bananas that started developing those spots that you couldn't sell them at premium price, he would just buy the whole thing at a great discount from these distributors and sell it at his hangar. So that was the place where sometimes I bought, for example, a big box like this of oranges for $5, like a huge box, and then for 2 weeks I was just stuffing myself with oranges every day. And so I actually got free bananas once in a while, like once a month we had free bananas. They were already spotty and whatnot, who cares, it was bananas. And it was early 90s and I came from a communist Czechoslovakia, where we had bananas 3 weeks before Christmas. That was it. Bananas were like gold to me. So it was fantastic. I was totally enamored with the place. It was shabby, nothing was, too nice or impressive, but the prices were just absolutely fantastic. Of course, you might think, okay, nice, somebody loves produce so much, they actually sell it to people for next to nothing. It turned out that the guy was it was not a charity. He was not running a charity. He was running a business, and he was running the business in order to maximize the profit. How did we find out? Well, the business was running just fine in those early 90s. By the time I was going there at 94, 95, I noticed that every single time next to the hangar, there was a brand new 700 BMW parked. The biggest model of BMW you can find. And of course you might think, well, it could be anyone. But then you looked at the license plate, and the license plate said lettuce. I loved it. So the guy was actually driving a 700 series BMW to his business. 2 years later, by the time 96 came, guess what happened?
So no.
There were two of them. Lettuce and Lettuce One. Two black 700 series BMWs parked next to it. All right, guys. How many produce department managers in surrounding Publixes do you know who drive 700 series BMW to work? Huh?
Probably 1 or 2, but
Does it mean they're poor?
no.
Are produce department managers poor people? No. They live in 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom houses somewhere in the burbs, right? Drive what? What do they drive? They're a Camry or Chevy Malibu or something like that, right? Some Ford. Yeah. But this dude, he was driving 700 series BMW. And within a few years, both he and his wife were driving 700 series BMW. Is that what produce managers typically drive? No. What does it tell you? Were they making positive economic profit, zero economic profit, or negative economic profit? Positive. they took advantage of making much more money than in alternative activity, like managing produce department for Publix or something, right? All right, now you understand what positive economic profit means. You notice, right? You see, oh my gosh, produce, BMW, positive economic profit. Why is it important? Okay guys, do you really think I was the only guy in town who noticed that these people drive BMWs? No. So what do you think happened over the following 3, 4, 5 years? That the entire town, or at least part of town that went there, noticed that you can actually run a produce store and drive BMWs. Of the thousands of people who visited that store over those years, there were a few who noticed those BMWs and thought to themselves, maybe I should get into a produce business, right? In other words, do you think that idea of selling bananas and driving BMWs might actually appeal to someone else? Of course. And as a result, by the end of the 90s, guess what happened? There were 5 discount produce stores in town. In other words, that positive economic profit did what? Attracted more firms into the industry. That makes sense? Okay. Can you guys tell me a story like that? 2009. Steve Jobs placed this weird, funky gizmo, not a phone, not a computer, on the market. He named it iPad. And did he make positive economic profit with that? Oh, some billions, right? Nobody noticed, right, that there's billions to be made selling these funky little things that are neither this nor that. No, everybody noticed. And as a result, within years, what happened?
All these other companies.
You have all these other companies following the lead and entering the industry. Does it make sense? Very good. You see, positive economic profit is visible. It's something you can notice. And since people notice, people then follow it and enter industry where you can make that money. That makes sense? There you go. How about negative economic profit? Can you tell me a story of negative economic profit?
The guy lost his BMW.
Would it take for them to lose the BMW? Okay, first of all, negative economic profit is not negative accounting profit. Negative accounting profit means you're broke, right? Negative economic profit tells you that there are better opportunities somewhere else, right? How can you tell that there are better opportunities somewhere else? When you see a young professional coming to work on a really old, beat-up, 15-year-old Corolla, and it's stinky and smoking, and hey dude, I'm new here at this department, can you help me out? Oh yeah, very nice to meet you, I'm a professor here. And you're like, what? You're a professor here? And you just drove this thing to work? Is that like are you emotionally attached to that car? I was like, no, I'm a professor of English, so professor of English, how much can I make? So, it's my student car, and one day when I'm 40, maybe I'll save up enough to buy something newer. But for now, this is all I can afford. Oh my goodness, with a PhD, you should be able to afford better. Well, English PhDs don't make all that much. That's negative economic profit. When you basically are making less than you could in some alternative activity. You got PhD, you're a high-skilled professional, you must have opportunities somewhere else, right? So what do you think this English PhD, or not all of them, but some of them will eventually do? Have you ever met English PhDs who ended up doing something on English?
Writing books.
I have met several, yes, writing books. That's awesome. If you can do that, go for it, right?
One of my
Steve.
teachers, he became a principal of
he became a principal of a school. Wonderful. So he doesn't teach English necessarily, but he made it in
So
administration,
he
right?
was, and then he was going to school while he was teaching us, and then the next year he left our high school, and he was teaching his own high school.
There you go. I met an English PhD back in Virginia when I told you in those 90s who defended PhD in English, went to the job market, and immediately applied for law school. Spent additional few years in law school and became a lawyer. Okay, right now apparently, this campus may be looking at someone. I hope I'm not disclosing something I'm not supposed to, but apparently there is someone interested in this campus who has 2 PhDs. PhD in English, which really didn't help much in terms of finding opportunities, and a PhD in something else that is much more marketable. In other words, negative economic profit, when you see someone obviously qualified driving a really bizarre car that you would not expect someone with that qualification to drive, that tells you that person will leave the activity, right? Go simply chase them out and look for something better. That's all there's to it.
Why do people do that? Like, is it passion? Like, if they know they're gonna make terrible money, like getting a PhD in whatever, cello, or whatever else you can get a PhD in, like,
Yeah.
why? Why would you ever spend all that money in like student loan debt if you know that on the back end, you know, you're not gonna be making big bucks?
Why? It can be passion, right? It's just, some people are so passionate about something that they derive non-pecuniary, non-monetary joy from that, right? You could say that about a lot of teachers. A lot of teachers are kind of underpaid in most school districts, and yet they do it because they just love doing it, right? But hey, they derive other satisfaction, other fulfillment, not just monetary, yes?
That goes for Brock Lesnar. I don't know if you know.
By who?
Brock Lesnar. He's an MMA fighter. Well, was. He went from a WWE superstar, and then he went down to an MMA fighter and lost money. Like, he didn't make as much money when he went to MMA.
And, yes, say it loud so that
Well, I'm
everybody
saying,
can hear.
like, yeah, it has to do with passion.
Oh, with passion, absolutely. In other words, there are other things to consider. Certainly, definitely. Guys, that's why we're using the concept of economic profit, because it takes care of all those things, right? It takes care of, or it accounts for all the alternatives and perhaps all the other motives you may have other than money. But still, even people who do things with passion tend to eventually respond to incentives associated with economic profit. For example, nurses. Are nurses considered to be registered nurses, you know, competent, qualified people? Are nurses today considered to be really underpaid people? Or is nursing a pretty attractive occupation today? A lot of our students, a lot of students around the state are going into nursing programs because nursing generally offers a pretty fulfilling, extremely responsible, of course, demanding, but fulfilling and well rewarding and well remunerated career, right? Has it always been like that? Have nurses always in America been making decent amount of money? Well, just ask someone who remembers the 80s, and people will tell you, in 80s, hospitals were scrambling to fill positions, nursing positions. Why? What was it about nursing in the 80s?
They get paid.
It was underpaid. What does it mean, underpaid?
They want to get paid.
It means that people with qualifications to work as a nurse were paid less doing nursing than they could have been paid in many other occupations. Realize most nurses are extremely responsible people, right? There are people you can definitely trust with numbers. They know how to calculate fractions and all that stuff. and do it responsibly, and they're dedicated to their job. In other words, they have a lot of attractive attributes for employers in various industries. And because they were paid relatively very little, in the 80s, nurses were finding better opportunities in other industries in droves. So they were leaving nursing, and hospitals had a hard time filling those positions. So what do you think happened then towards the late 80s and into the 90s?
Start paying them more?
Of course. Nurses started making more money, and it became a more attractive occupation, right? Very good. Guys, this is basically what we're going to be talking about in the context of that graph. Let me show you how. Let me first clear everything up. So we have enough place to graph all those changes. So, let's first start talking about an industry where a typical firm looks like this. Average total cost, marginal cost, dollars quantity. It is a firm that operates in an industry. That industry is represented by this graph of a market. This is the market supply. This is the market demand. That's the price. That's the quantity. This is the market with a lot of firms and a lot of consumers in it, right? And this is the firm. A single firm, a typical firm populating this market. In other words, output in this market is produced by a bunch of firms just like that one. We call it the representative firm, okay? So you can think of this like market for pizza in Jacksonville. And of course, pizza in Jacksonville is being baked by hundreds of pizza places that look like this. That makes sense? This is your typical pizza place. Now, first of all, what can you tell me about the market? Well, there's only one thing you can tell me about the market. The market is always in, unless you distort it with some policy, the market is in equilibrium. What does it mean the market is in equilibrium? It produces equilibrium quantity at the equilibrium price. Excellent. So that's what you can tell me about the market. The market is producing equilibrium quantity at the equilibrium price. Okay, what does your typical firm do in equilibrium? Well, in equilibrium, the price of a one-topping pizza is $10, let's say. Okay, that's the market price. So at that price, this firm produces how much? This firm produces the profit maximizing quantity. Right? The profit maximizing quantity Q star. That makes sense? Very good. So we have a market in equilibrium and a firm in equilibrium. Market is in equilibrium because equilibrium quantity is produced at the equilibrium price, and the firm is in equilibrium because it is maximizing the profit. Does the firm have any incentive to increase production? No. Does the firm have any incentive to decrease production? No. That's the quantity in which the firm is maximizing the profit. That's the firm's equilibrium. Does it make sense? So now you see market and a typical firm both in equilibrium. What profit is this firm generating? Well, this is the price at which they're selling. This is the cost. It costs them to bake an average pizza. So this is the profit, correct? Is that profit positive or negative?
Positive.
It's a positive profit. Very good. Positive economic profit. We see that the market and firm are in equilibrium. And we see that the firm is making positive economic profit. I have a curveball question for you. Think about it and tell me. How long do you think this equilibrium you're looking at is going to last? It's going to last forever. Why not? Your typical firm is making positive economic profit. These people are baking pizza and making positive economic profit. What cars are they driving, these pizza managers?
Toyota,
No.
BMW.
Every pizza manager of those 4 pizza places here on the corner of Bay Meadows and Southside, each and every one of them is driving some Corolla or Camry or Malibu or Ford Fusion or something, right? All of them. That's not positive economic profit. Positive economic profit, you're doing better than that, right? In other words, these pizza managers are actually are actually driving BMWs, Mercedes, Corvettes, I don't know, you tell me, okay? Something, wow. What kind of houses are they living in? Let's first talk about the reality. These people here on the corner who are, running the Pizza Hut and what house do you think those people, their families are living in?
300,000 and above,
Possible. And above?
probably.
Okay. 3-4 bedrooms, 2-3 bathrooms,
Wrong.
2,000 to 3,000 square feet on a quarter acre. Too much?
Yeah.
Probably.
No, they're not living in houses.
Not quite like that,
No.
right? Okay, so no, I mean, I'm sure they're doing fine, right? So they're living in 2-3 or 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom.
Yeah.
2,000.
Average.
Very good.
15 to 18 square feet, or 15 to 1800.
15 to 1,800 square feet. Very good. That's the reality. These guys are making positive economic profit. These guys are living in 5-6 bedroom home with 3-4 bathrooms, 3,500 square feet. Okay? That's positive economic profit. Do you think this industry is going to look just the way you're looking at it right now in 5 years?
No,
Why not?
the market is flexible.
Because many of you will notice that there is something to do where you can live in a huge house and drive an awesome car while, I don't know, baking pizza or something, right? You notice that there is this opportunity. That means some of you will be attracted to it, and you will respond by entering that industry. You will think to yourself, okay, here I'm studying for 4 years to be an accountant. If I'm lucky enough, I get a job, drive my Malibu or something. Instead, I might as well open a pizza place, drive a Mercedes, and live somewhere in Ponte Vedra. Right? So, my point is, when these firms are making positive economic profit, over a long period of time, that positive economic profit is going to attract entry. That make sense? It's going to attract entry, and this equilibrium will completely change because more firms will join the industry. That make sense? So what you're looking at is an equilibrium, but it is a short-run equilibrium because it's not going to last in long run. In long run, things are going to change. It's a short-run equilibrium. Well, how are things going to change in long run? In long run, several things are going to happen. First, firms enter, right? More firms enter. Enter the industry, right? Attracted by that positive economic profit. My question is, what do you think is going to be the impact of firms entering on this market? Which of the two curves, market supply or market demand, changes when more firms enter the industry? Curveball question. It's something we talked about the first day of classes. Remember, demand depends on prices of substitutes, complements, and so on.
Competition.
Supply demands, huh?
Competition. That'd be more-
We're gonna go there, but is number of firms a factor of demand curve or supply curve?
Demand.
Number of firms.
Supply.
Number of firms is one of the factors that determines the supply curve. What happens to supply curve when more firms enter the industry?
Slide to the right,
It shifts. Which way does it shift? To the right or to the left?
to the right.
It shifts to the right because more firms are willing to produce more goods and services, or more good, right? So the supply, in the long run, will start shifting to the right. And it will keep shifting as long as firms keep entering. And firms keep entering as long as economic profit is positive. My question is, when do firms stop entering? When does supply stop shifting to the right?
Once it's equal to zero,
When there is no more positive economic profit made. When, if you start baking pizza, you will no longer drive Mercedes or BMW, you will drive Toyota Corolla. Right? But how's that going to happen? Okay, so supply shifts to the right. As the supply shifts to the right, what happens to equilibrium price?
goes down.
Equilibrium price is decreasing. And as equilibrium price is decreasing, each firm is making
Smaller.
smaller and smaller amount, and each firm is generating smaller and smaller profit. So my question is, how long is it going to take for firms to enter and for supply to shift to the right before it all stops and economic profit is zero? There. It will all stop when this is the new equilibrium price, PE prime, when this is the new supply curve, S prime. That makes sense? And of course, at this price, how much is the firm going to produce? Quantity where price is equal to marginal cost, which is this quantity, right? Let's call it Q star star. And how much profit is the firm now making?
None.
Meaning zero economic profit, right? By the way, now that each firm is making less, baking less pizza, how much pizza is the market baking? What's the market output? What's the market output of pizza? We have new supply and demand. The old demand did not change, but we have new supply. Where's the new equilibrium? We have new equilibrium quantity, QE prime. So the market as a whole produces more pizza, while each firm bakes less pizza. How's that possible? How can the market bake more pizza when each firm bakes less?
Because it's such a low price, people are demanding
number of suppliers.
Because there's more firms, exactly, you have more pizzas, okay? In other words, you have more pizzas to go to and they are less crowded. That makes sense? And you buy pizza at a lower price. Do you like that? As a consumer?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can imagine that those who bake pizza are now maybe not that happy. Does it mean they're going broke? Does this mean going broke? No, this only means you go to work and you drive Malibu or Camry. Nothing flashy. And yeah, you don't live in Ponte Vedra close to the ocean, you live somewhere in the burbs in your 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,800 square foot house, raising your 2 kids, enjoying your 2 dogs, right? We have a name for it. What do we call that type of living?
Middle class.
Middle class, exactly, guys. That makes sense? So what's going to happen to this industry in the long run? In the short run, the industry was in equilibrium at PEQE. Each firm was producing Q star. It was a short-run equilibrium. What's going to happen in the long run? That positive economic profit is going to attract more firms. Each firm produces less output. More firms enter. Supply shifts to the right. Price falls. Each firm produces less. Profit falls to 0. Market produces more. That makes sense? Very good. And the market is then where? At a new equilibrium. This old equilibrium was a short-run equilibrium. What can you tell me about this new equilibrium? At this new equilibrium, firms are making 0 economic profit. How much or how attractive is this industry now? Is anyone attracted to join this industry now? No. How repulsive is this industry? Are these firms really motivated to get out of there as fast as they can? No, there are no better opportunities. That's what 0 economic profit means. In other words, there is no attraction, there is no exit, no entry. The industry and the firm are now at an long-run equilibrium. Okay, so this here is long-run equilibrium. Believe it or not, but the campus ran out of markers. Long-run equilibrium. So the industry transitioned from short-run equilibrium to long-run equilibrium. Why? Because the positive economic profit attracted more firms and market and firm behavior have changed. That make sense? All right, guys. Guess what we're going to show on this side of the board? The opposite scenario. Let's suppose here you have a firm marginal cost, average total cost, and that firm produces the good in an industry with this supply and this demand. Price, quantity. Okay? So again, here we have a market. Here we have a firm. See? Capital Q market output, lowercase q firm output. What can you tell me about the market? It is in equilibrium, right? What does it mean? It produces equilibrium output at the going equilibrium price. At the going equilibrium price. All right, so we have a firm producing its output at the price, going equilibrium price, PE. What quantity is this firm going to produce? Do you remember profit maximization condition? Firms produce quantity, or a firm produces quantity where price equals marginal cost. P equals MC. Price, marginal cost, what's the quantity the firm produces? Q star. Right? Let me make it neater. Q star, it's a picture of the firm. Okay? All right, so once again we have market in equilibrium, firm in equilibrium. Market is in equilibrium because it produces equilibrium output at the equilibrium price. Firm is in equilibrium because it maximizes the profit. What is the profit? Well, this firm is selling every unit at this price, but every unit costs on average to produce that much. In other words, on average the firm loses, right? Production of an average unit costs more than firm is selling it for. So the firm is generating what? Economic loss or negative economic profit, correct? So there is negative economic profit. Negative economic profit. So the question is, what kind of equilibrium is this? Well, it's definitely an equilibrium. Market is in equilibrium, firm is maximizing its profit. But clearly, firm is making negative economic profit. What does it mean? Is the firm going broke? What does the negative economic profit tell you about the firm? They
better opportunity.
They could do better somewhere else, right? They could do, in other words, there's opportunities for them, better opportunities somewhere else. So yes, this is an equilibrium. My question is that equilibrium going to last forever? When there's better opportunities somewhere else? No. So this is an equilibrium, but it is a short-run equilibrium. Short-run equilibrium. Short-run equilibrium. Why? Because in the long run, everything will change. How will everything change? In an industry where in the short run firms are making negative economic profit, what will they do over the years to come?
Don't leave that.
They'll leave. Firms will exit, right? Firms exit. And as firms exit in search of better opportunities somewhere else, number of firms is decreasing. When number of firms is decreasing, which of these two curves shifts? The supply curves. Which way when number of firms decreases? To the left. So supply starts shifting to the left. My question is, how far to the left is the supply going to shift? Well, it depends, because as the supply shifts to the left, there's fewer firms, price in the market will start increasing. And as the price in the market is increasing, what happens to the negative economic profit? It's getting less negative, right? And firms keep leaving the industry until that negative economic profit turns to zero, right? Until firms in this industry are doing just as well as they could anywhere else. My question is, how far does the price have to rise before profit, negative economic profit, turns to zero? And once again, this is the answer. That's the new supply curve, right? That's the new supply curve, at which this will be the new equilibrium price, P prime. At that new equilibrium price, the firm will produce quantity where marginal cost equals price, which is this quantity, right? So each firm responds to rising price by producing more good. At the same time, of course, what happens to the market output? Decreases from QE to QE prime. Why? How is it possible that the market produces less when each firm ends up producing more? Because there's fewer firms, right? Very good. So, once again, we have a story of a story of an industry transitioning from the short-run equilibrium to a long-run equilibrium, right? Does this make sense, guys? Let's summarize. What have we learned from these two examples? That in different industries, firms make different economic profit. In some industries, firms may be making positive economic profit. In other industries, firms may be making negative economic profit. But as long as those firms can enter a different industry or leave the industry they're in right now, in the long run, these industries gravitate towards a long-run equilibrium. And that long-run equilibrium is always the same. That makes sense? In other words, industries where firms can move freely in and out of the industry tend to converge towards a long-run equilibrium. Now, I'm going to erase these pictures, and I'm simply going to leave a picture of a firm in a long-run equilibrium. We're going to think about it, and we're going to find out something very interesting. Is it okay? Can I erase this? Very good. So, a typical firm in the long run ends up producing at this price, producing this quantity. That makes sense? Why? Because it's a long-run equilibrium at which the firm is making zero economic profit. That makes sense? So what we showed is that various industries where firms make various economic profits over time converge to a long-run equilibrium where your typical firm looks like this. Okay? Now, why is this important? This is the single most important result we derived this semester, guys. Finally, we're about to show where efficiency comes from. Think about it, guys. If your typical firm, your typical pizza place, bakes this many pizzas at this price, what can you tell me about the cost of baking those pizzas? Well, whatever. There's the marginal cost, there's the average total cost. All right. Let me focus your attention on average total cost. What can you tell me about the average total cost of baking that quantity of pizzas? What's special about this point along the ATC curve? It's the lowest point. Guys, in the long run equilibrium, when firms are making zero economic profit, they are producing every average pizza at the lowest possible average total cost. What does it mean? That means you're producing, on average, at the lowest cost. That means you are tying up the smallest amount of resources to bake your average pizza. But if you're tying up the smallest possible amount of resources baking your average pizza, why is that good for everybody in America? Because if we produce an average pizza with the smallest amount of resources tied up, we are baking pizza efficiently with the smallest amount of resources it takes to produce that amount of pizzas. But if we do it with the smallest amount of resources tied up in baking pizzas, that means we are leaving out the rest of the resources, the rest of labor, the rest of natural resources, the rest of capital. We're leaving that for what? For all the other industries. In other words, if we bake pizza in America efficiently, that means we use the fewest number of workers, the smallest amount of capital, the smallest amount of natural resources to bake all the pizza in America. Why is that awesome? Because we leave all the other workers, capital, and natural resources to produce what? All the other things. Oh, wait a second. Is that a big deal? All right, guys. Do we produce agricultural products in America? Any? We're one of the world's largest producers of agricultural products. And we do it because all of us are farmers, right? All of us are toiling in the fields 6 in the morning until 8 p.m. That's how we produce all those billions of bushels of corn and all the other products, right? No? What do you mean no? Not all of us? How many of us? What percentage of American labor force works in agriculture?
2%.
Somewhere between 1 and 2%, guys. Aha, wow. Somewhere between 1 and 2% of Americans produce so much food that we export enormous amounts of it. And it feeds us all quite well, for the most part, right? On average. So we produce an enormous amount with just 1 or 2% of labor force. That's efficient. Why is that good for everybody? Because it leaves 98% of us to do what? All the other things, exactly. In other words, the rest of us can become doctors and cure diseases. The rest of us can become artists and entertain the rest of us. The rest of us can be teachers and teach you microeconomics, right? If we were not efficient, if producing food to feed this nation would actually take 80–90% of population, then all of us would be farmers and there would be very few doctors, almost no teachers, right? And we would be a poor country. Which one are we? Are we an efficient economy or are we an inefficient economy? We are an efficient economy, bless you, that produces exorbitant amounts of goods and services. How come? What makes us efficient? the fact that your small firm that is free to leave or enter any industry it wishes to, or some industry it wishes to, ends up producing at the lowest point of average total cost. In other words, it ends up producing every unit at the lowest possible cost. That make sense? That's the secret of efficiency, guys. That's the secret of efficiency. Now that you know the secret, you don't seem to be really taken by the moment. But that's basically what we were after all along. What we can now do is ask ourselves, what does it really take for markets to be efficient? In other words, what does it really take for a firm to end up in this efficient long-run equilibrium? First of all, firms must be free to enter or exit industry, right? That's one. Second, you notice that firms are producing those goods at a going equilibrium price. How is that going equilibrium price determined? In the market in equilibrium, right? If the market equilibrium price of a large one-topping pizza in Jacksonville is $10, it's because that's demand and supply for a large one-topping pizza in Jacksonville, right? That's the equilibrium in Jacksonville. If you open your little pizza place today somewhere here on the corner, how's the equilibrium price of pizza gonna change in Jacksonville? It's not. Correct. It's not. How come? How come you have absolutely no impact on price? Because you are only one of many, many firms, right? In other words, we have a market with many firms. Now, why do you end up selling for $10? Look, it's a going price of large one-topping pizza in Jacksonville. You open your little pizza place, you end up selling for $10. Why?
That's how much people are willing
Because
to
that's
pay.
how much people are willing to pay for your ordinary one-topping large pizza, right? You might be able to sell that pizza for more if you convinced people it was worth more. But you could only convince people it's worth more if you convince them it's not just your ordinary large one-topping pizza I can get in any of the remaining 4 places around this corner, right? In other words, you would have to convince people that your pizza is different. It's not just your ordinary pizza. It's, my better ingredients make better pizza, right? Something like that. But as long as you cannot convince people that your pizza is different from others, that your pizza is just like theirs, you are going to be selling your pizza at the going market price, correct? In other words, firms are making a homogeneous product. Okay, homogeneous product.
What does that mean?
What does it mean? What is homogeneous versus heterogeneous? Homogeneous, say it again? Same, absolutely. Basically same, homogeneous. Heterogeneous is diversified, okay? One just like the other, okay? Homogeneous product. In other words, these pizza places are all baking the same type of pizza. Now, of course, you might raise an issue. Well, I actually like Pizza Hut better than Domino's or something. And yeah, I'm sure people have preferences over these things. Let me ask you, when you go to Publix and you buy yourself corn on the cob, do you always really pay attention to make sure that you're picking up Farmer Joe's corn on the cob? Have you ever bought Farmer Bill's corn on the cob? Frankly, you have no idea who the farmer is who grew that corn on the cob because it's corn on the cob and it looks just like the corn on the cob from the other farmer, right? It's homogeneous. That's what we're talking about.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Very good. You can't tell products of different firms apart from one another, okay? It's homogeneous product. Very good, guys. Now, in fact, we could add a couple more attributes to this list, or requirements to this list, that make sure that this firm will end up in a long-run equilibrium, producing or generating zero economic profit and producing efficiently. In other words, this is a list of requirements that have to be present for the firm and an industry to converge to long-run efficient equilibrium. If one or several of these requirements are not present or are violated, for example, firms are not free to enter an industry, or there's not that many firms, or the product is really not homogeneous, then firms may not end up in a long-run efficient equilibrium. In other words, this is what market has to be like for the market to end up in a long-run efficient equilibrium. That makes sense? Very good. Now, why am I not bothering to introduce requirement about information, that information is complete and perfect, and a few others? Because that entire list can actually be shortened. It can be summarized into one very simple phrase. The bottom line here is, guys, what makes this firm end up in a long-run efficient equilibrium with zero economic profit is the fact that no matter what that firm does, it has no impact on the market price. I asked you, if you open your business, how does it change market price in Jacksonville? It's not. When you close your business, how's that going to affect the price? It's not. You decide to double the production of your pizza in your place, how's that going to affect the market price? It's not. No matter what you do in your little business, it has no impact on the market for pizza in Jacksonville, right? In other words, do you have any power in your little pizza place to move market price of pizza in Jacksonville? Do you have that power?
No.
You don't have that power. Guys, the power to move the market price is called the market power. And it is the single biggest power on earth. And here we are describing a firm that has no market power, right? So the sum total of all these requirements can simply be described as no market power. No market power. So, guys, couple minutes. You're looking at a firm in a long run equilibrium, making zero economic profit, producing everything efficiently. When does an industry end up in an equilibrium with firms producing efficiently? When those firms have no market power. That makes sense? When do firms have no market power? For example, when there's so many of them that not a single one has a market power. And they're free and to enter and exit. And they're producing the same thing that everybody else does. That make sense? All that basically just describes the situation where firms have no market power. When firms have no market power, industry ends up producing efficiently in a long-run equilibrium. Guys, an industry that satisfies these conditions, an industry where firms have no market power, has a name. What do we call that industry? We call it perfect competition.
Can you say that again? What's perfect competition?
Perfect competition, or perfectly competitive industry, is an industry where firms have no market power.
Okay, thanks.
What does it mean? It means it is an industry populated by many small firms that are free to enter and exit and produce a homogeneous good. That makes sense? But instead of listing all those requirements, you can just say it is populated by firms that have no market power. Does that make sense? Then the industry ends up in a long-run equilibrium where firms make zero economic profit and produce efficiently. In other words, what is the source of efficiency?
No market.
Perfect competition in long-run equilibrium. That's what generates efficiency. Are all industries in America perfectly competitive? Are all markets perfectly competitive? Far from it. Do they produce efficiently? Far from it. That's what the rest of the semester is going to be about. For the rest of the semester, we're going to explore industries that are not perfectly competitive and deviate from efficiency to a smaller or greater degree. Thank you so much for your attention. I'll see you on Tuesday.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.